So now we are tied at one match apiece for both players, and Jarvis is going to bring good old faithful blue, black, red Grixis control. I mean, we've seen this deck so many times now. Is there anything about this deck that you like in particular, specific to card choices?
So the things that are different here than stock-ish Grixis lists are, I think the 4th Hymn and 3rd Lightning Bolt aren't as common. And he's adopted the 4 basics, which I agree with. And there's a Dreadbore in the board that I've seen some people do, but it's not the most adopted. And 2 Spell Piercers on the board instead of playing Flusterstorm, which is, it depends on the subset of cards you think your opponent's going to play. So this whole LPL format is actually like very interesting. So we saw on Rudy's sideboard that he was playing a Mindbreak Trap, but I don't know Jarvis to play Storm. So that was like kind of interesting. Like maybe he was just trying to hedge and felt like he had the spot. Right. Similarly, Jarvis might have chosen to play Spell Pierce over Flusterstorm for a similar set of circumstances. So he knows that Rudy likes playing Grixis Control, for instance, and then you'd rather have Spell Pierce to be able to counter an early Planeswalker, for instance. So it's pretty interesting.
I mean, that's a really good point, that because of the specific style, players know this is like a sort of King of the Hill, Iron Man format, whatever it is. And so you can sort of tailor your deck to beat what you expect your opponent to be playing. So even like the Miracles deck that Jarvis brought was like very, very oriented towards beating fair decks. We saw 5 white win conditions. And so I feel like some of the cards, we see here are just like a nod to what Jarvis is expecting Rudy to play. And so in that sense, those are like the metagame choices. So like while most people will be playing like 2 Lightning Bolt and 2 Diabolic Edict, Jarvis is saying, I don't think Rudy's going to be playing Dark Depths, this week. So I can afford the percentage points here. But just going on to the matchup analysis, who do you think is favored to win here? Jarvis or Rudy?
I like Jarvis's chances. This deck's kind of like the typical Gen style deck, or Rock, or whatever you want to call it, where that like you're just playing all these 2-for-1s and all your cards just trade with other cards and all your removal spells have all these different names, and it just seems. And if Jarvis gets to play him to Torok, it's like pretty game over. I think I'd probably say it's like 70-30 for Jarvis.
Interesting.
Winning.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, Baleful Strix is going to carry a lot of weight here, and then also just all the point and click removal is going to be really good. But I feel like Jarvis is going to have to maybe win the die roll to get lucky, and then like sort of snowball an advantage here. So he does win the die roll. How do you feel about these hands?
I have a quick question involving just general LPL stuff.
Yeah, sure.
How do I use the restroom while commentating?
Ooh, good question. We'll
Oh, that's fine. I'll use the bathroom after this match.
Sorry, but it looks like Jarvis is going to keep his opening 7-card hand with 2 cantrips and 1 land.
Yeah, it's the typical Power of Blue scenario, right? You're allowed to keep more hands because you chose to play these blue cards.
Right, and looks like Rudy's going to mulligan to 6 here. Just didn't have a land in a 7-card hand, so can't keep that. But his 6-card hand looks a lot more formidable. Turn 1 Noble Hierarch into a bunch of wonky dudes.
Pontiff might surprise you in this matchup. Being able to snipe a Baleful Strix is a pretty big game. So the old check pile decks and a little bit the current like Grixis control decks lean very hard on Baleful Strix for answering a lot of problems. That Wasteland is like pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think Jarvis did find a 2nd land, maybe even a 3rd one. I couldn't see the 3rd card off the Ponder, but that might. Oh, okay, never mind. So Jarvis shuffled his Ponder, so we're sort of just.
Big sign of weakness. I think if I was Jarvis, I'd probably wait maybe 5 to 10 more seconds. Well, I'm being serious on that end because like both in paper and on Magic Online, how quickly you resolve your turn 1 Ponders are very big indicators. Just like I feel like certain players won't play certain Tron lands on turn 1, so you actually can identify a lot of their hand based on what land they play and how long they thought about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's some of the aspects of Magic that don't really get talked about a lot too. It's just like not the deck versus deck, but the player versus player kind of thing. And so
correct. Yeah, we're humans playing Magic, except for Rudy, who's humans playing humans. But yeah, I do agree with this brainstorm though. You can't you can't allow yourself to just get like Thalia'd. So you kind of just like have to play this cantrip. And if you cantrip into cantrip, it's really good. If you cantrip into Inquisition, like what happened here, you get to line up pretty well.
Right. And so here, I really do like the cards that Jarvis found off of this Brainstorm. Liliana seems like it's going to be a house in this matchup. Baleful Strix also just a phenomenal card.
This one pretty much feels over.
Rudy's going to have to draw pretty well from here. And I don't even know like what... maybe if he draws no, there's nothing like a Revoke or anything, right? Like there's no way to stop this Liliana from ticking up.
Yeah. Let me think. If there's an out, he is playing 2 recruiters. So let me look at the sheet and look at the deck list a little. So if he could set up a line where he can like get an Aether Vial and then like a Mother Runes on end of turn, that can lead to some scenarios. But like the Grixis deck is chock full of removal, so that doesn't help the most. A Palace Jailer can like lead to a situation where he's drawing cards, but as we know, Jarvis already has the Strix and Snapcaster Mage. It's going to be an overall just like uphill battle.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, also it's sort of one of the reasons why Grixis Control is so good is that like you 2 for 1 for 2 for 1 for 2 for 1, and like you always have something to follow up with. So if in this situation, like if Rudy misses even like almost a single draw, like it feels like he's just going to get completely snowballed over.
Liliana here is dredging Dark Blast every turn. So like in a deck that's already 2 for 1ing your opponent, you get to like 1 for 0 your opponent every turn, eventually leading to this emblem that's unbeatable.
Right. So Orzhov Pontiff gonna haunt
those Emrakul triggers. never forget.
The first time this happened to me on Magic Online, I seriously thought this was just like some weird PTSD because I'd just gotten destroyed by a Cloud Post, and I was like, "Oh God, what is happening? They're everywhere."
Yeah, I could talk for hours about my favorite aspects or bugs of Magic Online, but that one has been great. Just surprise, it's Emrakul. Like it's always Emrakul.
So it looks like Jarvis is gonna shuffle off this Flashback Ponder, not thinking the lands are good enough, drawing a copy of Forcible, which probably doesn't do that much in this situation, since there's an Aether Vial in play. But who's to say? I mean, it could be really good if, by some circumstance, like there you go, like a counterable spell gets cast right there. So.
And one thing I want to take a step back and look at this game is like people that might be newer to Legacy is just like, man, Jarvis just like destroyed this one. Like, wow, there's like this huge advantage. Rudy actually took a line on turn 1 that could have just ended the game, where like Jarvis could have Brainstorm locked. He could have just not hit another land or hit basics that allowed him to not cast his spells. And like one thing that's interesting about control decks is like sometimes there's this illusion of like I spent this amount of time winning the game, so I feel like I've won more than I actually have. When you check out the numbers, these control decks can win as many times as like a turn 1 Blood Moon deck or something like that. And like it's hard to remind yourself sometimes that it's actually just raw numbers. Did I win or lose? Like it's a Boolean. You either won or lost. And Rudy, I think, played very well to that end. But then once Jarvis hit on that Brainstorm, the decisions became very trivial.
Right. And so in this situation, it looks like Liliana's going to tick up. We have Snapcaster Mage and Lightning Bolt to, insulate ourselves from any creatures that might come into play. We might see zombies, turning sideways very soon.
Zombie. What's the vial on? It was on 1?
I think it's on 1, yeah.
Okay, then I'm okay with that Thoughtseize.
Right, yeah.
I mean, even 2 would only hit like Image and Freebooter. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that Thoughtseize.
Right. So here we go. Dark Confidant, Image in the hand. I think you just immediately ultimate. Yeah, I don't know if Humans has a really good way to handle this.
Zombalin slot.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, and Hinbatorok. Well, there's a vial, so it's not as scary. Oh, we also have a Hinbatorok in our hand. What am I talking about? Okay, cool. So
yeah, that's fine. I do like the Magic Online go to second main phase to see if they F6. As a former / current sometimes Meadow grinder myself, all these Meadow-isms I think are really fun.
So yeah, in response to the Hymn to Torak, Dark Confidant is going to enter play, but Snapcaster Mage on Lightning Bolt to kill the Dark Confidant will prompt a concession. So again, I'm really just interested with the sideboarding of the Humans deck. Tell me a little bit about it. And I mean, Rudy's already got some cards that he's sideboarding in.
Yeah, I agree with the Palace Jailer and the 2 Cumballs. I'm trying to think what the War Priest of Thune is for other than being a bear. There's no big like enchantments that Grixis... Oh, Dread of Night? No. Would he really want to bring in Dread of Night here?
That's tough, yeah.
I could see hedging and like bring in, but what's bad in the matchup? Probably the same Image Lieutenant thing. It probably holds true, but for a different reason. But if that's the case, there's not as many wraths that the Grixis control is presenting. Like it might have a Toxic Deluge or Massacre. So Thali's Lieutenant might actually be fine, but lines up badly against Strix and Angler sometimes, so it doesn't accrue this night's value. So I think it's actually the exact opposite problem. So the reason why I felt like Humans had a good time against Miracles was because of how intrinsically powerful its creatures were at providing the advantage. I think that might be the liability here, because Jarvis's Grixis control deck's able to kind of like stave off the creatures by having 4 Baleful Strix and these Snapcaster Mages to trade. So you're kind of like playing more into their plan. Meanwhile, Death and Taxes and Goblins would be able to play more Mole Drifter type cards to accrue this advantage over time to kind of like fight back these removal spells. So I think it might be harder for Rudy, similar to the 70-30 thing I alluded to in the beginning. Reflector Mage is also in a really weird spot, because Snapcaster Mage has Flash, so at some point you're just not going to be allowed to play Reflector Mages that aren't violed. And, like, it really only hits Angler, but like Angler's like a pretty big house in the matchup.
Yeah. And so on Jarvis's side, we see some of the same stuff that we've seen before, board out a couple of copies of Hymn to Torak, or actually all of them, and bring in whatever removal spells we have. I think I saw 1 copy of Liliana's Defeat, a copy of Dreadbore, the Deluge.
I still can't get behind this Force of Will nonsense.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Jarvis is in the mindset that the matchup is like good enough for him where he can afford to, use Force of Will like to stop something that might cause him. I don't know, maybe like it's just like as a catch-all. Also, like if you look at the rest of his sideboard, I guess Hymn to Torak might be the other card that could be, substituted in. But being on the draw, maybe he's, sort of hedging against getting run over as opposed to.
So flip the script. You do choose to play Force of Will, but look at all the blue cards you're going to be pitching. Like they're all like cantrips or bangers. Like you can't just like. You can't be like Hymn to Toraking yourself against a stack that like you want to just be 2-for-1ing the whole time. Like it's not a good way to push your advantage. I understand. So like then at that point, are you leaving in 3 or 4 Force of Wills just to pitch to your other Force of Wills? Like,
yeah, that's a weird story. Yeah,
I'm not questioning Jarvis per se. I'm questioning the structure of this Grixis control deck and its role in these Aether Vial matchups, if this is what we're going to be doing. But I do understand the point of view. Like, I do understand how impactful it is and the subset of games where you're able to keep them off of their key cards that allow them to accrue this tempo advantage.
Back to the match. Both players are going to keep their 7s. Rudy leading with a turn 1 Noble Hierarch, one of the 2 more powerful plays that you can make on turn 1, as far as I'm aware. And Jarvis,
come on, Flood versus Screw every game.
And Jarvis is he shuffled off the Ponder, right?
I think so.
Oh, never mind. So keeping the Baleful Strix off the Ponder. This hand on Jarvis's side looks really intimidating. Toxic Deluge being one of the more powerful cards in the matchup.
I do like that Rudy has the few like Mole Drifter effects in his deck and the 2 Imperial Recruiters, which allows him to get a Palace Jailer at his convenience.
Yeah. So here we're going to see Baleful Strix sort of just block the way. I wonder how aggressively Rudy's going to try and just trade to get it out of play.
I think he should very aggressively do that.
Okay, yeah. But here it seems like he's hovering over the Imperial Recruiter.
Yeah, like it is kind of like the reason why like I understand why people would board out Thalia's Lieutenant in this scenario. But I think the approach I would be interested in taking involves playing Imperial Recruiter and getting a Palace Jailer. Like, the fact that that's going to take 2 turns to set up, and they might even be able to take you off. Like, I understand that Briksza's control doesn't play many Wraths, but I think especially on the play with this Noble Hierarch in a position where I don't think Jarvis is just going to kill your Noble Hierarch, because you have more Baneslayer effects, so you have more creatures that when they remain in play, their effect matters. So Jarvis is more inclined to keep removal spells in his hand to be able to answer those. So your Noble Hierarch is less likely to die, which means if you play an Imperial Recruiter this turn, it's more likely that Jarvis does nothing.
Right. And so, Wasteland is a pretty good draw here. It's going to slow down Jarvis a little bit, but it does feel like that Toxic Deluge was, quote, backbreaking. Just clearing the board here and leaving Rudy with very, very little. Imperial Recruiter is searching up. Where did search up? I actually didn't get to see. Oh, is it like optional? Did Rudy accidentally hit no or something?
Probably not the line I would have taken.
Okay. Moto, please. Well, either way, yeah, this game seems like it might be wrapped up. Jarvis still has Snapcaster Mage and K-Command in hand, so that's...
Yeah, Rudy's just being incredibly nice to my bladder, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think how this game would have paced if he instead chose to play Imperial Recruiter instead of playing the Dark Confidant, because I don't think Jarvis would necessarily Toxic there, and then it would kind of allow him to buy more time, and he might just be able to play Jailer on the Strix, leading to an empty board where he's drawing 2 cards a turn.
Right. That Himdachark was very good, by the way. Getting rid of the Reflector Mage that Rudy did tutor up with the Recruiter. I think that was one of his few answers to the Gurmag Angler. So putting it in the graveyard, better than getting it in play.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. This one seems very difficult for Jarvis to lose. I'm trying to think of what lines it would it would have to involve Rudy drawing Palace Jailer and choosing not to attack with both of his Imperial Recruiters. Yeah. To that end, I think Jarvis should have end of draw step K commanded, because he knows that land Palace Jailer might be the only way back in.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Sort of just, there's one talk, the Palace Jailer has just come up so much in our discussions, like both this match and both the last match. Granted, they were both humans versus control, but it just it really speaks to me that this card is so impactful in this deck specifically. It's just providing you at least game, you can, it's a plan you can take to sort of come back when you fall behind. And I feel like there's very few cards that actually enable you to do that in this deck. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jailer, just, you don't get to collect $200 and you don't get to pass go. It's just a very difficult situation.
Right, and so here...
It's a Monopoly joke, but that's okay.
Okay, so Rudy's going to concede here.
Yeah.
So Jarvis is up now, 2-1, playing for match point.
Yeah. Rudy's kind of the underdog in this whole situation, so I do hope he can bring it to Game 5, and, I'm friends with both these players, and it'd be great to see either of them battle in the finals, but I want to see the full 5 games. Come on, Rudy, do it.
Oh, believe me. I know, Julian knows. We all want to see the 5th game, because Jarvis has a pocket pick that, we never went to Game 5 last week.
I was so surprised when I saw it.
Yeah, just put a little bit of that clickbait in there.
Yeah, exactly. So we're cutting to a break this time?
Yes, so we're going to cut to a break now. We've got a raffle coming up.
Raffle.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty sweet. So sit tight. We'll be back in a few minutes. And more Legacy coming up soon. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.